Wake up, America. This is your wake-up call. I'm going to say some harsh truths about the investigation into the Benoit family tragedy, and you may not like or may not want to admit it, but they are true. And if you really are seeking the truth and justice, you will just listen to what I'm going to say. Please hear me out, and if you're honest, brave and objective, you will see my point and call for justice. You're about to adopt a justice system based on the judgment of Chris Benoit, based on guilty through guesswork and speculation, mere assumptions. If Chris Benoit is indeed guilty, as speculators insist, then there is no more to say other than may God be his judge and let's move on. However, let's be honest, let's be true, let's not judge someone who's already dead in a very rash way. Is Chris Michael Benoit guilty? Where is the evidence? Where is the proof? Where are the irrevocable facts? Where are the DNA tests? Where is at least one fact that shows it must be Chris Benoit and could not have been anybody else? I've heard this before. Well, you have not. I am going to ask some poignant questions, and now where they have to be said. If you listen and think, and if you still think he's 100% guilty, and if you're sure of that, well, either my logic fails or you're intransigent. I want you to clear your mind of all that's been said before and start with a blank page in your mind. Let's make a quick, honest and factual look at this case. Let's be prepared to make bold statements as long as they're true. As Hulk Hogan in his movie title once said, no holds barred. Let's have a no holds barred approach. Maybe then people in the USA will wake up to the reality of what's going on here. Let's start with the first day of the investigation and ask some important questions. What did we learn? What are the facts of this first day? Benoit's mobile and his wife's mobile send messages. My physical address is 130 Green Meadow Lane, etc. Again, he sends the same SMS, and again, and again, and again, and again. The dogs are in the enclosed pool area. The garage side door is open. He sends that message. And these messages are sent, and the WWE, we know, becomes suspicious. That's a fact. And the WWE staff member, Richard Herring, contacts Fayetteville County Sheriff's Office and requests them to go to Benoit's residence for a welfare check. Now, that's a fact. We know that on 2:30 on Monday the 25th of June, the county sheriff of Fayetteville police officers tried to access, but they were afraid. We know this for a fact of the two dogs in the open yard. The officers stood outside and asked a neighbor, Holly McVeigh, a former Boston publicist with a key to the house, to enter alone. They said, go in there and come out. Tell us what's in there. She disappears from view. Is the first person to see the bodies of Chris, Nancy and Daniel Benoit. She runs from the house horrified and screaming. So what do we learn from this? We learn that the initial approach by the officers is pretty unprofessional. I mean, it's harsh to say. I'm sorry, these are police officers. We shouldn't be criticizing, but I'm afraid it's true. What was unprofessional? Here we have a neighbor being asked by police to enter the house merely because the police are apprehensive of approaching roaming dogs. Wow. Where is the evidence that at that time the neighbor was not a potential suspect? How were the police sure at that time and subsequently that she would not and subsequently did not contaminate the murder scene by entering? Thirdly, how did the investigators know at that time that there was not a mass murderer with a gun inside who would have put a bullet in the neighbor's head? They did not. A massive risk was taken. The crime scene was infiltrated and possibly contaminated, and at that time a rush to judgment took place. Bad, yes, bad. Serious, yes, quite serious, but only if it affected the murder scene in any way before the trained investigators had a chance to see it. Now let's see what happened a few hours later. Well, a few hours later, the police officers from the sheriff's department enter the house after Holly McVeigh leaves, and they find Nancy upstairs in the family bedroom, bound, wrapped in a towel, and there's also blood under her head, meaning a possible sign of a struggle, as interpreted by the investigators. And we must accept that investigators are professionals and that they know what they're doing, so let's assume that's correct. Daniel is found in an upstairs room, has needle marks in his arm, and they see this, and they examine the bodies, and then they move on, and they take pictures, and eventually Scott Ballard, the DA, comes in and sees the place without the bodies and looks at the landscape, and it looks very stark. So they see this, they look at all of the things that we've read about. The beer cans are found, 10 beer cans, and the wine, and many, many things. Prescription anabolic steroids are found, and many, many things we've heard about. And 5 hours later, they come out and they make a statement. Well, this looks like a double murder-suicide. They say, well, we've got to look at the evidence a little bit more closely, but that's the way it looks. Let's wait for the autopsy and let's wait for the toxicology reports. So, 1 day later, they come out, again affirming the same. Okay, let's say they're professional, let's say they know what they're doing, and let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's ask them questions. These questions are crucial. If they're not answered, then as far as I'm concerned, all it is guesswork, and all it is general. All it is just throwing darts at the board and hoping they hit. Let's find the facts. Firstly, where is the DNA? If fingerprints are there, if there's any DNA, where's the evidence? Where's the evidence that this is 100% Benoit and nobody else? Where's the evidence? Surely there's partial fingerprints or fingerprints on instruments of death or Nancy bindings. Have the authorities been able to match them to Benoit's? Okay, fine, tell us the results. Where are these results? If we get these results, if someone come out and say, here is a fact, it must be Benoit, unequivocal fact, one example of that, then understandably Benoit is guilty. If not, then it's only speculation. How about the empty 10 beer cans and the wine bottle? Investigators confirm they've seen them. They've seen them they've seen them in the house. They've seen the wine next to Benoit's body. Have the investigators done DNA tests on these items? If so, where are the results? If not, why not? If no alcohol is found in the toxicology reports of the 3 deceased, then how do the investigators explain this? Think about it. If excessive alcohol is found after the toxicology reports in Benoit's bloodstream, then we will have a very clear clue that Chris Benoit was drinking alcohol. It may have therefore intoxicated him and led him to an irrational move. Correct. But how does it explain how he's going to walk across and hang himself in such a technical way? Because if you're drunk with 10 cans of beer, half a bottle of wine, and you're not really an alcoholic, and evidence in the past suggests that he is not an alcoholic and he's not drinking excessively, how do you hang yourself? This has to be asked. The chokehold on Daniel. Scott Ballard has come out, understandably, and said there were no hand marks or bruises on the neck, and he said there were bruises on the child's arms, and they've given us some specifics there. And he said, well, we didn't know what to make of these bruises initially, and then we looked at the Benoit in wrestling, and we saw a triple crossface, and we saw it's a signature move, and we felt that was an example of Benoit doing it. But it wasn't the exact move as we'd expect it to. Maybe that was because he was doing it on a child. Or maybe not. Where's the evidence of that? Is there a knee mark of Benoit which matches his knee? If there is, tell us. Otherwise it could be somebody else trying to do a move on him, trying to suggest that it was him, and indicative of him, but not definitely him. There are many other issues here. Let's have some evidence. Let's have some facts. Can we come out now and say, here is a tangible fact which proves it's only one person who did it. End of case. We'll all be quiet, we'll all be sad, and we'll all move on. But let us please now have one intangible, unequivocal, concrete fact.